I got the new Pulse headset. I don't know if you can tell. It's supposed to be white, but it's not all white. I guess it's supposed to go this way. I was wondering. But it's kind of weird, but whatever. I got the new Pulse headset. They were on back order, and I ordered them like 5 days ago. Mm, they just got here. No boobies at all. It's just the way that I sit. Posture. Let's see, whatever. But, yeah. Don't be fooled. There's no man boobies there. Thank you for watching Baby Blue Drop's YouTube channel. I'll try to get these. I had the other ones adjusted perfectly. It'll happen. I hope everything's on. Yeah, I keep saying I'm alive. I'm sorry. It's late. I'll just broadcast this to people. I don't really expect people to watch this one, but they can watch tomorrow. It's not a big deal. Anything else I have to say? Oh yeah, like, comment, subscribe. I always say that. Always say that. Like, comment, subscribe. Please, 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 please. It helps me help you, help me help you. But I'm working on getting a community, at least starting off a small community, so it's at least valid. But again, right now I don't really expect. I'm so shocked when people do watch, but I don't really expect viewership like hardcore at all. Just like I want your names on a list so I can say at least 50 people take me seriously. It'll help me, trust me, because I want to at least get my foot in the door to make this valid. At least pay for the video games. That should be a bare minimum. The least that I should do. So yeah, like, comment, subscribe. We say that a lot in our YouTube channels. It's how they view us. We know you're there. We know you love us. We know you're doing the best that you can. But like the only way to show people that you're there is by you subscribing. So please subscribe. Twitch, YouTube. It helps. And maybe that's why I'm surprised when people are watching and commenting and talking and so on and so forth, because I'm like, where are you subscribing at? I have like 0 subscribers, so, help me, help you, help you, help you, help you. Okay. Don't forget to hit up my website, www.jamonmiller.com. All the latest, greatest, all that good stuff. Please. Beautiful website. I made it for you guys. I want you guys to enjoy it, so please enjoy. That's the standard opening. It's pretty easy. I have it on pink. I'm going to change it to strobe. That's just what PJ left it, because he's a little control freak. And he's like, it's my chair. And I'm like, because he was talking crap about it. He's like, it's pink, it's for girls. And this is the guy who has a pink toothbrush, and every time we want to go get something that's pink. And I don't question them, because the millennials are all about pink. It's like, they're not like the generation before us, the dads who are like, my son better not ever have any pink on. I'll be damned. No. These millennials, that's not going to work with them. They like pink, and if it matches them, they're wearing pink. And they look good in it. I mean, guys wearing pink, who knew? The guys who do, they ain't scared, and they wearing their pink. Yeah. Rock on, dude. So I don't hate the millennials. They like the colors. They like the mix of colors, the different tones, so on and so forth. And as far as fashion, it's quite fashionable, and that's where fashion is going, because they're going to rule the planet soon. The coronavirus is eating up the baby boomers. We thought they would never die, but God's like, shit. So, to the millennial world. But yeah, so it's all gravy. But now that he sees all the things that the chair can do, now he's like, it's my chair. It's my chair. You saw him in the video the other day. Yeah, so there's that. So that was like the general of order that I have to say for my stream, so on and so forth. So yay, repping the army. I wear these in. I bought these at Aeropostale. They were having. It was like the time that we were in the muck of war. I think the Middle East war, and they had these. They were like donations, but you pay for the shirt. So the shirt was like I think like $20. No, two for 20, which is Aeropostale. They're so great. Um, yeah. And the money, the proceeds went straight to the military. So I was like, yeah, of course, I'm going to pay to this. I got Army, Navy, Air Force. You saw the Air Force on my first stream. I had to put this if I did the Air Force. Representing my Army boys because I've dated a lot of them. By mass, but generally speaking, most of my friends are Army or Marines. I have like a few Navy friends, but for the most part, I support and the Army. They're always attracted to me for some reason. They stick to me like magnets, so I'm repping my Army boys. And I'd be glad to give them money. I couldn't get the Marine shirt because they didn't have the Marine shirts, or obviously it was sold out because the Marines are the Marines. So. But I had a friend, lame dude, who said he was going to get me one. He didn't, but I'm not really expecting the guy who got kicked out of the Marines for pimples to get me a Marine shirt. So I was just like, whatever, dude. He said a lot of things and never backed it up. So all he wanted was for me to do things for him, but he wasn't willing to do even the monochrome of anything. So I'm just like, boo. Um, but the spiritual ego, I'm gonna take a minute from playing the game to talk about the spiritual ego because like we're on what 6 or 7. I didn't even mark it right. Uh, Whatever. Um, and we haven't even really seriously talked about the spiritual ego because this game is like just do. There's like no time, just a video game like Ghost of Tsushima. I mean, give me a break. It's just CGI all the way through. I get it because I see why it won so much awards. It's just like a movie. Where's the video gaming? And just the piece to explore the world and figure some stuff out. But yeah, I just want to talk about it before I get into it because I want to stop talking about it. Why I bring it up? Okay, I had a friend named Dante who got me into spirituality. Great guy. I thought he was my friend. We almost stopped being friends because like I would tell him stuff and he would like go and blab it to the whole world, and I'm just like, dude, if I tell you something in confidence, why are you like bringing it up to like put me on Front Street? He had a disposition. There was something wrong with him, but I like a challenge, so I'll deal with a challenging personality. But I was going to stop being his friend. I was like, dude, we're done. Because for me, trust, confidentiality, like that's everything. Like, get me wrong, and this is what he didn't understand, or he wanted to act like he didn't understand, and he was not. Wait until we get the story, and you'll understand. Uh, but he just wasn't understanding. Like, it's not that I can't say anything to anybody. Everybody on Earth can. I'm not scared of anybody. I will tell you what is going on. Period. Anybody. The only person I'm scared of is God. He's the only one that I'm gonna be like. Anybody else? Oh no, you can get slapped. But I'm peaceful. Nirvana. I've transcended all of that. But it's keeping that ego, keeping that dog in check. I'm always doing it just like anybody else, and especially spiritual people, because don't you think Jesus went to slap the fuck out of Judas? Let's be for real. Like that pimp hand is way strong, but he never did, and that showed that he was Jesus. He overcame that pettiness to rise above to a whole level of being, and that's why he was Jesus. So I was going to stop being friends with him at that. We met in college. We went to college together for 2 years. He was in a lower class than me, which is probably why I gave him food for fodder. And I was going to be done with him from there because I'm just like, there was just something sketchy about this dude. He was ultra sketch, and not in the good way. Not sketchy.com. No. Not the good way. He was just like sketch. There was just something about him that I could never put him in a box. So, long story short about spiritual ego. So, at first, when we first became friends, we always talked about art and stuff like that. But then God came up, because God always does. And at the time, he didn't even believe in God. He wasn't spiritual. He was like next to being an atheist, period. So I would tell him about God or some of the spiritual things that happened to me through my life, um, like dying. And he didn't believe. He was skeptical, like, oh, I don't believe in that, and blah, 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 blah. Fine, I don't need you to believe in nothing I believe. I'm just letting you know this is where I'm coming from. This is what I believe. Like it, don't like it, take it, leave it, whatever. It is what it is. Who cares? You know, all God is a personal thing to anybody anyway. That's you don't have to explain that to anybody. But that's nor here nor there. So fast forward, long story short, we one of my friends, Rodney, on the last day of college when we were never going to see each other again, saw something in him, and he was like, "Dude, why are you being mean to him? You know that dude loves you, like honest to goodness loves you." And Rodney is not the type of person that'll defend someone. He's like the type of cage animal guy that'll kill anybody at a moment's notice. Uh, Army guy, yeah, super army guy. Um, but he first time I've ever seen him have a heart and be like a human, and he was just like, "That dude loves you. Stop being mean to him. Stop being a bitch." You know what I mean? I'm like, I didn't think I was. You are. So, and he was my best friend at the time, so like totally I could listen. I'd listen to him because he really did only chime in if you were like really messing up. Other than that, he let you be free. Like my mom, like people in my life, generally speaking, freedom because I'm my primary goal, and that's probably why it didn't work out between me and Andy because he never understood that. Is that Dante eventually did is that I just want to be free. I want to be able to fly, nothing tethered, just go at a moment's notice, here, there. I'm like a bird. I'm like the wind. Like I told Andy. I'm the wind. I just want to be free. I don't want you grabbing me and trying to control me and tell me where to be. No, no, no. I'm just gonna fly. Enjoy me while I can until I fly away. It's just in my nature. So, whatever. Um, but we became friends. We stayed in touch. Our art bonded us. He drew, and I always liked drawing because that was my first art. Let that go to do writing, and writing has become who I am. But I always loved drawing. I still draw. My nephew was shocked. He was like, "You?" Like he saw my drawing notebook, and he's like, "Oh my god, I didn't know you can draw." I'm like, "Yeah, I do a lot of things." But we kept being friends. He would say that we were best friends. I would say that we were really good friends, but like he was always taking. It seems like he understood that I wanted to be free. I communicated that with him time and time again, but it was like it was okay. Like one of my friends, Melody, said it best. It's okay. It's not with him. It's not okay for anybody else to use me but him. When he does it, it's okay. Look the other way. Like I helped him out. I let him move into my place. He moved into my place. He didn't pay any rent. Um, I went and got him a job. Like literally, I don't even like fucking getting jobs for myself. But I got him a job. Got him several jobs. He just took the job one day, quit. Worked there for like 3 or 4 months. Best at the job. Just quit. It's like, I can't be bothered. I don't want to get up. Like what they say about black people, and keep in mind, yeah. Well, what they say about black people, he's the, interpret like the omnipresent, and I just didn't understand where he got off because it's like he was saying he was my friend and showing he was my friend, but there was always something missing. So, long story short, sometime he moved to Madison, Wisconsin after he went to some bum college um, that he failed at. So then he moved to Madison and just started moving in with people, living house to house until finally he was forced to pay his own rent and get his own house, which was really hard and was just like, how dare he? The great emperor have to work and get a job and pay rent like all the rest of us. So during that time, he his brother, who got into kinesiology, suddenly stumbled, also an atheist, stumbled into spirituality via kinesiology, and got into David Hawkins, which I have all his books. I read them. My favorite book is one of his books. It's I. Most incredible book I've ever read. It was the reason I read. I learned how to read. I know that. Like, it was to be able to read that book and understand it and appreciate it for what it was. And it's nonfiction. Imagine that, a fiction writer who loves a nonfiction book. But that's how it went down. So his brother got into kinesiology, exposed him to it, just to try to help, because that's what you want to do when you want to pass spirituality on. You just want to help. The whole purpose of spirituality is to try to alleviate some of the suffering of man, to make it, because if you make it a little less, if people suffer a little less on earth, the less it becomes like a hell or a purgatory realm, and the more it can become a high celestial world, which is better for everybody. But they say it like this, like, it raises the water of the ocean, so, ships have more to play with. So they can come in further and deeper, explore out. So Dante got into spirituality, totally took to it, totally, and like, if you're there, if you're attracted to it, it's something you come to, it's amazing. It's the same for me. Like, you feel joy again, you feel like there's a purpose, a reason for living, and then at that purpose, it's not like you reach enlightenment, but you become conscious. You stop being a sheep sleeping and in pea pods like the Matrix, and you come out and now you're like Neo and Trinity and all them. Like, you're trying to wake the other people up to let them know that there's this great, beautiful world that exists that they're not living in. So he got into that. It became his mantra. Finally, he had something that he could hide behind to try to detract from all his obvious flaws. But moved in with me, quit the jobs, didn't pay rent. It got to the point where I lost my job too. We're both living there, and no one has any money. And I was getting like little unemployment, which wasn't nothing to pay for a whole rent, especially at the time, because I think I had like a car payment too. So I just ended up giving up that place. As much as I love that place, it was my first place. It was my party house, and um, great memories. But I just gave it up because him. I didn't want him living with me another day, not paying anything. And at the time when I was leaving there, I got a job, to just make the ends meet. But I just wanted him out, and he wasn't getting the hint. And the only way he would get out is if I had to show him, yeah. We have the lead by this day, And then he didn't even call his mom to pick him up until like the last day. Like, really? Can I have like a week in my house where it's just me before I have to pack my shit up and go? Like, oh my God, this is him. But so spiritual, so on another level. And yeah, it would seem he was spiritual and he was, spitting the words, but he wasn't exactly living up to the things, because then he moved in with his mom and lives in her basement today with no job. Every excuse. He can't get a job, he can't work, his hair is not done, blah, 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 blah. But he gets weed and smokes it every day. So, what am I missing here? But whatever. But and I was just getting into spirituality, so I was just, because he got me into it, his brother got him into it, and then he got me into it because it's like, this can help you. And at the time, I was flailing. I mean, I didn't really have much to live for. I was always conscious because I died, so that automatically wakes you up. But like, it was just like, I didn't have much to live for. Like, I was just like, I thought that like, you did everything right, go to college, material life, get a job, blah 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 blah, go out on Friday night, Saturday night, be drunk Sunday, and then go to work on Monday and be hungover on Monday and get your work done, and hey Zach, how are you doing? And you do it all over again. So yeah, so that was it. Oh yeah, good. Were you watching earlier? I was doing some Ghost of Tsushima Ronin on there. Thank you for watching, by the way. Um, so yeah. But yeah, it wasn't adding up. But he got me into spirituality, and it was a change in me, like instantly. Like, it was like I found my source, and I was happy, and I felt joy in life again. And life was good, and like he did, his friendship was there in order to guide me to this path, which has got me doing a stream now, and like an introvert who wants to just high to themselves, is literally out in front of the whole world talking about spirituality. Who does that? Where what? How does that happen? But it was through him, and so I appreciated him for it. We talked every night, about our art, about our futures, our belief. He's the first one who knew about the beach house, my pet tiger. He even gave me the idea for the pet tiger. So, but I always thought he was a great friend because, for the most part, I was looking the other way, and I just thought he knew the words, he knew the content, you know. But that's the thing, and there is a point for me. No, I don't know battle royal games. I'm sorry. Maybe you can explain those to me, or maybe I'll have Kiki explain it to me, and I'll see what it's like, and maybe I can play it with you. Um, but yeah, so I just tended to look the other way, because he was a friend. We hung out. I met his family, his parents. When I went to go write books, sometimes I would go to his house to write them or press the publish button, there. Or, he helped me with the artwork for Africa too. So, there was some good things to his friendship. But as he got more into spirituality, and that's what I said, and he gets mad, and like I was being judgmental because I was like, you joined a cult, because ever since he's reached for spirituality, it's like I don't even know what they are. You got to explain it to me. Um, uh, but yeah, it was just like things were lacking, and it kind of reminded me because I took psychology classes, so it kind of reminded me of joining the cult. I took psychology classes. It wasn't coming from a judgmental place. It's just like, oh, you're acting like A, B, C, D. Okay, you're in a cult. You know what I mean? And I bring this up because the spiritual ego, generally speaking, when I talked about the levels of hell for this broadcast, and we're playing a game that's like a level of hell, the lowest level that a human can get, because remember, the ninth level is only reserved for three people. Only three people live there. God will never do that to anybody except these three people, who probably that place was designed just to hold them for all of eternity. Lucifer, Judas, and Brutus. Those are the only three down there. That's the lowest you can possibly go. Only three people live there. All the rest of the humanity in the hell realms, the Naraku realms, are all in 8 and above. So, but 8 is the worst that a human can go, and that is where the cult leaders and the people with spiritual egos go. It's the priests who hurt the kids, or, don't keep their tenants, or are the bad shepherd who lead God's flock to hell. Like, he has a special place for them, the lowest level of hell, 8, which is the lowest possible we can go. And those are for people who have spiritual egos. And that's what I was talking about when I first started this training. Like, you start with an ego, which is pretty bad. But it's basically just a computer program to help you survive from death to life. Because there's a lot of people who calibrate at the lower levels of consciousness, which is like just, they're literally animals. And they need the ego to, like, get them out of danger, keep them out of trouble, or just to help them get through life so that they can reach their time of death. And even sometimes that doesn't work. So basically the ego is just a computer program. Like, that's all it is. It's software in our brain. And our consciousness is just an attraction field that we're attracted to. America is 400, generally speaking. And that's logic and reason. So generally speaking, the most people in America calibrate at 400 in their logic and reason. They're above this level of truth, which is 200, kinesiology. And they're able to distinguish between truth and falsehood to an extent. It's hard for any of us, unless you're enlightened, to really know, because the software can be hacked just like any computer. And that's basically what our reality is. Trying to solve this solution of our brains constantly being hacked by everything out there, So the spiritual ego, once you know about spirituality or you become conscious, then you get another ego. So when you're spiritual, what makes it so hard is because, one, you learn about the ego, you're trying to beat it down all the time, but then spiritual ego comes. And so then you have to deal with the spiritual ego, which is harder, and that's going to be what you're going to be fighting all through your spiritual evolution because um, you have this new spiritual computer thing that wants to be enlightened, which is good. It passed you to enlighten, but it's enlightenment for the wrong reasons. It's not for becoming one with everything and the fullness of the universe. It's more about just being better than everybody else and being like Jesus, and being better than people. Which is the spiritual ego. It's Judas. It's the cult leaders. It's the bad priests who go to the eighth level of hell, which is the worst. It's literally like a desert where the sand like eats your skin off every second, and your skin regrows, and it just keeps cutting it off. Yeah, it's a horrible level of hell. And then keep in mind it's where all the cult leaders, so Masons, serial killers, all of those crazy distorted human beings live. So yeah, it's definitely the worst for a reason. And why I bring that up, and why it comes full circle, is this guy, has been studying spirituality, and he has the biggest spiritual ego I've ever seen. I just started. I'm just talking about the spiritual ego because I kind of named the videos after it, and I'm on like video 6, and I have yet to be able to talk about it, and I started it in this stream because, that's why it's paused right here, is because when I get in the game, I know it's going to be a fight, and 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 a scene, and a fight, and a scene, and a fight. So I don't really have any time to actually talk to people, and one of the things that I'm going to do is talk about, spiritual things. I'm going to get into the video, don't worry. I just got to finish this. It's not long. I just wanted to do an introduction so that I could stop naming these videos the spiritual ego. And I've been wanting to do this every video. I've been like, I'm going to talk about it in the next video. I'm going to talk about it in the next video. I never did. So I'll talk about it here. And if all else fails, I'll just start a new video, and then it'll be just me going into the game. But this is finishing up the spiritual ego talk. So, and to bring it back, he read all the books like 20 times. All he did was read the book. He prays, he meditates. His whole life has become to a point spiritual. So definitely, I think that he'll reach enlightenment if he continues the path that he's going, of course. Because he's doing it. I'm just writing books, streaming, taking care of my family, working, and trying to pay bills for this house that costs a lot of money. But he's doing nothing, and so he has obviously more time to dedicate to spirituality and spiritual pursuits than, of course, I do. But long story short, I just started to get the vibe because he always saying like he loves me and I'm his best friend, and we went on trips and stuff together. But it was just something like eerie, iffy in the back of my mind. I'm just like, I don't get it, because if you're studying spirituality, like Jesus, Buddha, Krishna, all those people were like rich people in life. Like they mastered life. Before they even got to spiritual, aspects, Jesus was a great carpenter. Like he carried his family. He was the oldest child, one of the best carpenters. He literally created the table. The table, you know what I mean? Thank you, Jesus. Buddha was rich. Siddhartha was one of the richest lords in China, or India, or wherever he was from. And Muhammad was a horse thief who became rich and, was living like an emperor. So they were masters of the world. So that's what I'm like. The truly spiritual people just come into the world blessed and conscious and like... But he's not. Like, he just wants to live off of people, And granted, thank God he's living off his mom. Generally speaking, it's like people try to use me and then they're sent back to their moms. And they're happy and I'm happy because I don't got to take care of them anymore. But I was talking to his brother before we became friendship because I was kind of like feeling like, you have intuitions. And I was talking to his brother, and his brother was just like, how could you be friends with him? And like, this is his brother who actually loves him and got him into spiritual, like, principles and spiritual forms and so on and so forth. And like, this is what he took me to the store one day when I was visiting, because I had to go to the store to get like toothbrush, toothpaste, stuff like that, because I was visiting and staying at their house writing books and so on and so forth, hanging out with Dante. And it's just like, how can you stand it? Like, he's like, I see what you do. You're always helping him. You're always taking care of him. I don't even get how you would do that. And he was like, and I was just like, I don't know, and I was just like, I was shocked, but then I was just like, well, I understood where he was coming from, so I went with him, and I was just like, well, I don't get it. He reads all the Hawkins books, and like I just told him what I just told you, like Buddha, Krishna, all the greats, they mastered form before they could. They were geniuses already in life, so God, it was easy for them to become spiritual genius because they had their stuff together. They had their ducks in a row. The earth was they were like, oh, I beat that when I was 7, You bring me a challenge. And then enlightenment. Oh, the highest level of enlightenment. There they go. So, and it just wasn't jiving with me because I'm just like, how can he read the books that we're reading? And that's what I was saying to him when we were in the car going to Target. How can he read the books that we're reading and like lay on his mom's couch and you ask him, well, why aren't you getting a job? Why aren't you working? Like every red-blooded American, because he swears he's Republican, and like I'm like, well, Republicans say get off your ass and work. That's like their mantra. Do you not read? And his brother was just like, maybe he's not, you know, absorbing what is being put. He's reading it, but he's not reading it. And then I was just like, well, he has dyslexia, so I can get that, and that must suck, because it was almost like he was jealous of me, but there's no reason to be jealous because he always says the student would be never be better than the master, and I agree with that. I have a Japanese house. There's Japanese signs all through my house. I have Japanese crap on the table here. My lamp is Japanese, so I get what Japanese stand for because that my whole life. I love anime. I live anime. Anime for life. Attack on Titan, one of my favorite animes. Naruto, come on now. So I understand it, but I was just like, I don't understand him. You know what I mean? I just don't get it because you read these books, it makes you want to be better. Like, it makes me want to get my dream of New York Times bestseller. It makes me want to get off my ass and get something nice for myself in life. You like that $400 clock? Yeah, $400. And I was happy to buy it. My mom even told me, she's like, boy, go get your clock. And I ran when my mama said, I ran and got it, and ta-da! And it makes me feel good. Like, that's an heirloom. PJ totally he's claimed it. So when I die, that's his. But, it feels nice, Hello. But I didn't get it. You're reading the same book and you want to just live off of people? But yeah, that's what I'm talking about. That's the spiritual ego. Because the last thing we stopped. Long story short, we stopped being friends shortly after that. And this is the story. This is what brings me to bring the spiritual ego home. Yeah, this is what the story has led up to. So we ended up being friends. We stopped being friends after 7 to 10 years, because they found a lump in my back. I got a gallbladder surgery. I had to get my gallbladder out. It was horrible. It was painful. I thought I was going to die. And how bad the gallbladder pain is, I was like, no, God, this is not going to continue. If this is what life is going to be, you can end this right now. You can, I was praying to die. So I do understand that sometimes people do pray to die. No, this is too painful. And at the time I was there, they were injecting me with all this painkillers and nothing was working. They were like, your body's strong. And I'm like, no, you need to get me something now. I lost my spirituality, totally went out the door, and I was so mean to those nurses. I was such a horrible, wicked person. I can't believe what the nurses really have to deal with, because I was the worst form of me I have ever seen. But I was in so much pain that I was literally like, I just want to die. Please let me die. This hurts. I'm done. Checked out. But they took my gallbladder out. I survived. It was not as bad as I thought. It took me a while to heal. They did the microscopic, which was awesome. I loved it. And they didn't have to cut my stomach all open, so I just have 2 little dots. That's fine. They were bad when they had tubes in the dots, but now it's fine. It's just a little scar, and I know what it's for. But at that night, I had a dream, and I have future dreams. Sometimes I'm psychic, so sometimes I can see the future. Generally speaking, they're heavily in my dreams. Sometimes I can be in a room with somebody and pick something up, or, that happens. But generally speaking, it's a dream. It's like some movie dream that happens that I'm just like, that shows me visions of the futures. Deja vu, I have that all the time. My life is deja vu. So I had a dream that night, and it was I was in the beach house. I was successful. I guess I had made it. I guess I had got my dream, and I had a son at that time. And it was a nice, beautiful house. Oh my! It was the beach house. It was everything I dreamed. That's how I knew. I was like, oh, I know where I am. This is home. This is the beach house. This is exactly how I would set it up. So I came downstairs, and my son was there. My future son. I don't have one now. PJ is my son, but I'm talking about one I screwed up. but. Um, But I claim PJ. He's totally going in the wheel. Um, but yeah, and I had a dream when I had the surgery, and I went downstairs, and my kid was just playing with his toys, just like normal. And I was just like, "What do you want to do today?" And he's like, "Don't you have to go to work?" And I'm like, "Why do you say that?" And he's like, "You work every day. You work all the time. You're never here." And I was just like, "Really?" And I was like, "Oh, I'm a sucky parent. I'm like my mom and my dad." So that was my gripe with them. You always work. You're never here. You never want to be with me. Saying the same thing. So I'm like, God, I'm not. The apple didn't fall far at all. And so I'm like, well, I'm off today. I took the day off. Surprised him. I'm like, I'm off, so I don't have to go to work. So whatever you want to do, that's what we're gonna do. I got money. You got money. Let's go wherever. And I was like, you want to go to Disneyland? Because obviously I lived in California, so you're going to Disneyland. What do you want to do? Anywhere. The world is your oyster. And there was no Corona. Man. And he was basically like, well, he was like, I want to make cookies. That was his only wish. His dream for us to do all day was just to make cookies. So I'm like, that's it? And he's like, yep, as simple as that. Let's just make some cookies. So we went in the kitchen to make homemade cookies, and he was helping, and we were having like a father and son bonding moment. And then the phone rang, and then he was like, who is that? And then I was just like, I had a feeling. I was like, oh, it's probably Dante. So, we talked pretty heavily. The person who would call me at the beach house, if he's not there staying and living on my fucking couch, would be Dante. So I picked up the phone, and like he just started going in, and this is just a dream, about all this negative, horrible crap. And I was just like, I'm cooking cookies with my kid. I have the day off, and I'm trying to relax. And he's bringing all this negative stuff, which is so not like him. He was a mooch and like a total fuck up in life, but he wasn't negative. It wasn't no negativity. That's why I was just like, this can't be Dante, But it was his voice, but it was just like this negative, horrible aura. So I called him that night because he had instrumented this new rule for our friendship that I could only call twice or 3 times a week. But he could call me whenever he wanted. Let me put in Capricorn. He's a Capricorn. Capricorns are the weirdest Fs in history. Like, they make up these rules that everybody in the world and the universe is supposed to follow. And I said this before. And they never follow the rules themselves. They never live up to them. Their own rules that they say, this is how things are going to go. They don't even follow them. Those are what they set up for you to be roped in so they can control you, but they can just do whatever they're weirdest zodiac. Like, what don't I like? I don't not like Capricorns because I can stomach them, because in some way I understand them. Who I don't understand is the Geminis. They're batshit crazy. So the Geminis I don't even try to understand. Like, those are just like, Tauruses are now getting on my nerves. It could be because my mom's a Taurus. I love my mom, but the Tauruses are neurotic, fucking cuckoo birds. But the Tauruses and the Geminis I can't really stomach. I can't get down with. But at least the Capricorns I can stomach, because for the most part, their rules and whatever keeps them at arm's distance. So you don't really have to deal with them for long if they're not forcing their rules on you and trying to be in your life with their rules that they don't follow. Nate was Army. He was a Capricorn. Bitch ass Nate, you see that shit fail. Yeah, failed completely. So So yeah, getting back on the topic. So I called him that night in the hospital just to let him know because, if anything happened to me, that was my guy. I would at least want to like let him know what's going on and say goodbye. And like he jabbed out, like, don't you know the rule or whatever? And I'm just like, well, I think the rule can be superseded if I'm in the hospital as we speak, calling you from the hospital room, right? You think? You know. So whatever. After he got that I was in the hospital, then he was like, okay, and we talked, and I told him about the dream, and he assured me like, that's not real, that's never gonna happen, that's just a dream, that's not even a future dream. But I was like, geez, it seemed really real. 1 year later, from that moment, it was literally 1 year, like this clock. 1 year later, we're gonna fast forward 1 year later. Okay, so like I said, I had that surgery. Horrible thing is that I thought that the surgery was over, and I thought it was done. No, my doctor calls me back and like, oh, in the CAT scan when you got that surgery, we found a lump in your back, and I'm like, excuse me, hello, and my doctor's like, yeah. When we do CAT scans, it finds all kinds of stuff. So he's like, I need you to come in immediately. And then it wasn't even come into him. It was like, go to the U of M cancer diagnostic center for some scan for cancer in this machine and call me back. But I don't think it's anything serious, but we just got to check it out. So here I am freaking out, and it's something internally because my family is not the family like the Hallmark movies or whatever, where your family's there, they take you to the hospital appointments, and they sit there and change the throw up for you and sit with you, and that's not my family. That is not. If I get cancer, it's gonna be me by myself, cleaning up after myself, puking, getting a cab to take me to my cancer appointments. Oh, they're talking. Oh, that's so cute. My niece is here. Yeah, she made it, so I'm happy. She's just in the room doing her own little thing, whatever. She can't be bothered to be on the stream, but thank goodness she's not like PJ's thirsty. But you saw him around here on the last stream. Oh my god! But I'll tell you more about that. But he's a little lighter on his own, so he was definitely showing like, because I was just like, sit down, you're not on YouTube, and he's like, I'm on YouTube. So he was on YouTube, so good for him. So fast forward a year later, so I go take the little CAT scan or whatever, and I'm just taking my doctor's advice, and he's just like, oh, everything's fine. So I'm just like, oh, everything's fine. I just went in there and did it. I put it off for a long time, but he kept calling me like, did you do it? Did you do it? Did you do it? So I'm like, okay, I'm doing it. So I do it or whatever, and then I'm thinking nothing because he didn't call me back right away. And then my doctor calls me, and I'm just like, what's up, doc? How can I help you? And he's just like, I need you to go to the U of M facility and talk to an oncologist. And I know oncologists because I watched Grey's Anatomy for years. So I know what oncology is. That's cancer. So I was like, excuse me? And he's like, yeah, I need you to go there as soon as possible. Because with cancer, the earlier you detect it and get it out, the better. So I'm like, oh, great. I could potentially have cancer. Oh, joy. Awesome. So, long story short, I go there. They do a diagnostic, what do they call that? A biopsy, which sucks. Sucks, by the way. Or whatever. So I'm sitting here trying to deal with, hey, I could potentially have cancer. And then I go to the cancer doctor, and he looks at the little thing or whatever from the machine, and he's like, well, this cancer is inoperable. I can't operate on it. I can't take it back because it's literally on your spine. If he operated, he could mess up my spine. I could be paralyzed. He could kill me on the operating table. So he's like, I'm not going to operate. So that leaves chemo. We got to hope the chemo works. And so while I was in the process of finding this out, because he wanted to take the biopsy, dig deeper, understand because like his thing is he wanted the records from the surgery to match the cancer or the tumor to make sure it hadn't grown. If it had grown, then we got to start chemo. That's the only way, since he can't operate. But So I'm sitting here dealing with this because if I have cancer, I have cancer on my own. If I'm going to survive on my own, my friends at the time sucked. Dante was one of them. And he just wanted to use me, so it wasn't no you get anything from me whatsoever. My mom, my family, hello, you've heard the streams, so not gonna happen. Tough it out, buddy. So I'm just like, oh, great, wow, all right, this is fun. So in this time, I was talking to Dante, and it was about it or whatever, and he wasn't dealing with it, which is like fine, okay. I thought at the time he just couldn't understand. Now I look back and maybe he just didn't care. Bobby, one of my other friends, said that maybe he cared too much and he couldn't deal with it. But I don't know. Your friend tells you that they have cancer and they actually went to doctors. You know they're going to doctors to do with the, check to see if they have cancer. You care. You be the good friend. One of the last movies we bonded and talked about was that movie because he knew I loved Joseph Gordon-Levitt. And it was the 9 months or whatever, where when he had cancer and he had his buddy taking care of him and helping him the whole time. We bonded over that movie. Like, are you kidding? So I was talking to him about it, and I think it was either a week before I found out the diagnostic, or it was the night before. So I called him or whatever, and we were just talking just like normal because I just wanted to have something normal in life. Because tomorrow or next week, things could be vastly different. So I just wanted a friend just to talk about art or talk about crap, not spirituality. I was just like, this is one time we're going to take a pause from spirituality. I need you to stop being this Messiah wannabe friend that you think you are, but you're not, and just like be my friend. You came, you wanted to go to see drag racing in Brainerd. I stopped what I was doing. I rented a car. We drove hella far. Probably is the reason that I broke my car, my exploder, which exploded. They explode, so. But that could have been one of the reasons to get you to this place in Brainerd. We had a good time. I showed that I was a friend. I'm finding out that I have cancer, and he's like the 2 to 3 day rule or something, and then it was like, fine, I guess I can talk to you because you're going to find out if you have cancer or not. And I'm like, gee, thanks, And then, like, I just told him, like, I don't want to talk about spirituality. And he was like, are you joking? Are you serious? Like, to him, I'm sure he thought that this was the one time that I needed spirituality. But you don't get to dictate to someone who's going to find out they have a terminal disease that's inoperable, and that they have to go through cancer alone, what they want to talk about. Like, that's just human decency. Like, you don't have to like it. You just shut up and listen to your best friend, and talk to them about stuff until they found out if they have cancer or not. So he just was done when I was like, let's not talk about spirituality. He was just like over it. Like, he was just like, oh, he just went off on some stuff, and then it maybe didn't help that I was completely stoned at the time. But, it kills cancer, so why not? So he just was just like not having it. Like, he just couldn't fathom. Like, it was like our friendship or like me as a person had just devolved to like level 200, which is below the level of truth. And keep in mind, the whole world is at 200. I think it's at 205 now. 200 is the level of truth. So humanity on Earth is just now getting over, for the first time in this decade or within 20 years, over the below truth and falsehood to truth for the first time, I think, in all of human evolution. So we are literally living in the best time of human history ever. It's never been. Man has always been down, which is Luciferic or satanic. Those are below 200. That's demons, devils, animals, barely any consciousness. 200 above is energy, life, sustaining. So the world is at 200. America, UK, and I say the first world nations are generally at 400. I think America's at like 420. Ha ha ha, 420. So that I'm talking to him, I'm just trying to have this last little powwow, and we're going to get to the games soon, I promise. Long story short. But at least we're talking about the spiritual ego, because I know as soon as I press this, it's a fight scene. I know it. Watch and see. So I'm talking to him that night. He just wasn't having it, and then he went on this long tirade that I didn't even understand because maybe I wasn't in the right mind and my right frame place. But like, this is the same guy who was like literally the day before was saying he loves me, he can't live without me, I'm his best friend, and now he's just talking crap, and I'm just like, is this the appropriate time to be talking crap to me when tomorrow I'm going to find out if I'm going to die? As a friend, is that the time that you want to tell your friend all the shit you hate about them and all the stuff that they do wrong the day before they find out they have terminal cancer that more than likely would kill them? Is that the time? No, I don't think that's the time. Do you think that's the time? Do you think that's the time to end your friendship or to talk about to your friend and say that all the wrong things that they're doing? Like, you couldn't do that a week ago. You couldn't do that year in the hospital when I told you that my future kid, and that was the end of the dream. When I got off the phone with him, I basically hung up on him, which I never have done. I hung up on him. I hung up the phone on him, and my son at the time in the future dream said, he's not your friend. He's not really your friend. And I was like, huh? And he was like, yeah, that guy is really not your friend, Dad. And I was just like, oh. And I told Dante that, and he's like, that's not true. Your future son is lying. I'm your friend. Don't believe that dream. That dream was not real. So 1 year later, exactly 1 year later, he's like, oh, I don't, blah, blah, blah. You do this, you do this, you do this, you do this. I'm like, I'm going to the doctor to find out if I'm going to die tomorrow. This is the time. And that was my last words to him. As he was getting off the phone to hang up the phone on me or whatever, I was like, so I'm about to find out if I'm going to die, and this is the time you want to end our friendship. Okay. Spiritual ego. And his last words to me, which I don't get why people, when they don't want to be your friends, they have like these last sentences that they want you to remember. It's like they want to control you still, even though you're not going to talk to them or be in their life any further at that moment. Like, when I'm done with you, you're done. I'm not going to think about you. My brain is literally going to shit you out tonight's sleep. And by tomorrow morning when I wake up, you'll be shitted out. Just like if I go to the bathroom. So why are you giving me these last little words? And his last little words were, you think you're spiritually better than me. You think that you're higher level than me. In spirituality, this is what Jesus and Buddha and Krishna talk about. I think that I'm better than someone. First of all, in spirituality, the first tenet of spirituality, plain and simple, hulking words, is no one special. There's no such thing as speciality at all. The ego is the mistake. The ego is you thinking you're special. The ego is Satan saying that he'll be better than God. The ego is your worst enemy. It's setting you up for failure, and it's because it thinks it's special. So because it thinks it's special, it separates itself from God and says, I'm independent, I'm alone. God is here, like the clock. He's everything. And you've just split yourself off from God because you think you're special. Now, everything in life and the universe and consciousness is here with God. It's spiraling around God, But us humans have, because we think we're special, have separated ourselves from God. And that's why we don't have contact to God. We can't speak to him. We can't interact with him. We don't know him because we've split ourselves from him, and he gives us free will to do whatever you want. Like Satan. Satan said, I'm going to be better than God. Okay, God's like, oh, you will? Do better than me in hell. He was in hell. He's still alive. God didn't say non-existence for you, my son. He said, no, you can go be who you want to be. You're free to do that. But you can do that in hell. That's God. And so that's what we're here on earth trying to overcome. So that's what the spiritual ego. See, it's ludicrous for him to sit there and say that, and he thinks that I'm going to take any grain of salt with that whatsoever, that I think that I'm spiritually better than him. He's the one who taught me spirituality. He's the one, in essence, who led me to the books and to the writing of David Hawkins, an enlightened being, who taught me to read for some enlightenment, which I never thought I could even conceptualize. I just saw it on Xena the secret, like little one-off things that didn't even really go into the meat and potatoes of what enlightenment was. He brought me to it, and for me to think, for him to think that I'm gonna bite the hand that feeds me. No, you study it. You taught me this. And there's no way that I'm gonna be better than you. You've even had more years of spiritual training than I have, and at that time I was just like a little worm crawling my way up to learn about what Jesus, Buddha, Krishna, David Hawkins really talked about. So that is obvious that, first we started where he was an atheist. So I don't know if to me, and my soul searching in my years of earth have taught me that people really, like, spirituality teaches you that people see the world, basically we see the world based on who we are inside of ourselves. So if I'm like a racist, I think everybody else is a racist because I'm a racist. I see the world as because you can't see it any other way than what is inside of you. You know what I mean? Because that's all Earth is. It's basically a bunch of us dreaming, in essence, this world together, but we're projecting it on the world, us. You know what I mean? What we see is us, together. So it's just like we went from where he didn't believe in God, and I believed in God, and I was telling him about these spiritual things. Then he went and got to go get proof for himself. So he went and studied and found spirituality, found enlightenment, and became better than me. He knew more about religiosity, spirituality than I did, and he taught me. And then as I'm coming up to learn what he learned, all of a sudden it's a problem. And I never thought, because spirituality teaches you you're not special. Get rid of thinking you're special. That is the problem. When you put down that I'm special card, you can come back to God and you can be with all of this. Swirling with the big man on campus, because that's what I want to do at the end of the day. F what you're talking about. I want to be with him. I want to be sucking on God's face and like, oh, I love you so much, you big sexy divine. Like, I want to just be on him like this. Like, I don't want to leave you. I don't want to leave you. I don't want to leave you ever again, So, and that's a place of love. So, hey, stop. That comes from a place of love, and that's all God is love and divine love. And so it just became a problem I'm not saying that we were equals, but I was climbing. I was on my way to being able to stabilize my soul, my energy, to get on the level that he's been guiding me and pulling me up to get to for years. So my thing is like when he was saying that, he was saying that I had a spiritual ego and that like I thought I was better than him and I was more accomplished than him and he just knows better. And I'm just like, that's not the case at all, dude. Like, I'm your friend. I care about you. I love you. You claim that you love me, but you're honestly not treating me like that at all. I feel like at that time, the using and the manipulations, finally, I could see it. And maybe that's what he was fighting against because, the spirituality the truth will ultimately be revealed. So, and it just like maybe he thought that I was better in spirituality than he was, and how dare he? And he didn't have to be like that because spirituality is all inclusive. We all come together to make this beautiful whole, to get back to God, to get back to center, to get back to who we are, which is not special, no different from the elephants, the animals, the dogs, the cats, the plants, the trees. We're all the same. We're all God's creations. We're all God's children. And when we die, and when our personalities and our consciousnesses are done and we drop them, we return back to God, the source, anyway. That's why he's Alpha and Omega. He's at the beginning of life and he's at the end. We want to go, we are somewhere in the middle, but we get off at the beginning and we get off at the end. But he's still going. He's still going to be that source. He's still going to be dreaming. He's still going to be like the ultra spirit, my favorite ghost. But, there's none of that. So, I'm going to talk about spiritual things because that's just what I think that's the important thing. We're going to play video games here. We're going to get down with the get down. But I just want to talk about spiritual because I was saying that I was going to talk about this. Some people do need to hear it. And I'm all about talking about consciousness and uplifting because I said, if we ease the suffering of, man, it makes it better for all of us. But I find that funny that a year later, from that dream, we were not friends anymore. And to end the story, he has not called me back today to find out if I have cancer at that or not, even just as a good friend checkup. He has not called me. We have not talked since then. I do talk to his brother because me and his brother saved my soul. It was through him. I'm looking at him as the master, not that guy who's still in his mom's basement, not working, smoking every day, and you know, watching TV. But he's the spiritual Buddha. I'm on YouTube talking about spirituality, so. And again, still don't think I'm special, still don't think I'm better than him. He did teach me. But some things are not adding up. Dude, you're not reading the same books that I'm reading. Because first of all, I believe in order to be enlightened, to be a true Buddha, whatever, you gotta master Earth. You gotta master your realm first. You gotta master the materiality. You sitting on your mom's basement, not working, not trying to make anything for yourself, that's not spirituality. And then let's keep in mind that, let me see, I want to get this right. I don't want to say anything false. But yes, to reach enlightenment, even to begin the path, you have to not ask anyone for anything. You have to be able to walk that path completely alone. So, living in your mom's basement, living off of people, not having any money for yourself, not paying your way, that is definitely not a way to enlightenment. I'm sorry. So he can say whatever he wants. He can say whatever he wants. Conversation, to make the long story short, is that I'm not even using it like that, like you are, or like you think, or like you're trying to jump to conclusions. I'm using it to write my books, to help me understand why I do things in life, to make my life better. But in no way or shape or form am I moving to an ashram and dedicating my life 1,000% to the spiritual. First of all, I don't have the money to even do that. Be poor on the street? Well, that's fun, but that's not master of the material world now, is it? So I just brought that up because that helped me to know about the cult leaders, because that's definitely cult leader-like, you know, egomaniac, super spiritual ego. But when you reach, and that's why I want to be wary, because people don't warn you, when you reach spirituality, you have to deal with the spiritual ego and other people's spiritual ego. Like, that wasn't even my spiritual ego. That was Dante's spiritual ego that was projecting on me. This is what you have to deal with. Like, it's bad enough that the path of enlightenment, there's no one that walks that path. So you have no tracks to follow. You pretty much have to walk that trail through that forest completely alone. But on top of that, you're going to have to walk that forest with a lot of false gurus, false prophets, people who read these spiritual books but use them just to like be manipulative, control people's lives, and to try to use you, which is no different from even the 200 people who try to do that as well, who have negative energy and, you know, can't even sustain their own energy without sucking like vampires on somebody else's stuff. That's the spiritual ego. And it goes into the hell and so on and so forth. Because like the highest level of hell is literally the spiritual ego's mistakes. And, you know, I don't want you to have to deal with that. I don't want you to have to, you know, get to that level. Let's rise up, you know. And definitely a good rule of thumb. Like, if you have a friend who claims they're your friend and they walk out of your life when you're going to find out you have cancer, don't be sad. Lose that friend. And like I talked to his brother, like I said, because I still keep in touch with his brother. If I have any spiritual problems, he's the one. Literally, the dude heals people out of his home, like Jesus style. He goes to work for 8 hours, actually like 10 hours, comes home, dude's exhausted because he works his butt out. He's a professional photographer, and he works for ESPN. So all of those games that you see where the people take the pictures for the magazine in super slow motion, that's what he does. That's his job. So he comes home, he's tired, he's exhausted. He has a line of people out the door, up the block, that are waiting for him to heal him with his hands. And he does it. He did me. He healed my heart because he said my heart was broken. And pieced that back together. For a while, I didn't even have to take my high blood pressure medicine. He told me to take it because it makes it more effective. But for a while, I didn't have to take my high blood pressure. I was freaking fine. Just from him touching some spots, and I was like, oh, I'm healed. And I felt healed. I was like, oh, this is for a reason. Because all those people lining up, I'm like, I'm your friend, or I'm your brother's best friend. Oh, you're going to heal me, buddy. Let me see what you can do. And he did it. So people line up, and he spent until he passes out in the basement on the couch watching TV with Dante. That's what he does. He heals people until that line is done, and then he goes to sleep, gets up early at like 4 in the morning, and does it again. That's someone who is really taking the spirituality, the enlightenment, trying to ease the suffering of man seriously. So I talked to Brandon, of course. I didn't ask about Dante, but of course he's like, I know you through my brother, so I'm going to give you an update. That's going to happen when you're checking in with family. And he's just like, basically Dante's the same, but he was just like, he actually was trying to get Dante to talk to me, and he was like, basically, he was saying, and I'm like, you didn't have to do that. I don't want to. My future son already said, in black and white, what the universe probably sent him to tell me. But he was just like, oh, Dante said that, like, it's hard to talk to you, or basically, like, I'm selfish or whatever, and he doesn't, he's just over talking to a selfish person. It's just not conducive of his time. Sitting in his mom's basement, smoking weed, and begging his mom and dad or his brother for money to get weed. Spiritual, right? Very spiritual. Sounds like a fucking addict to me. Excuse my French. But yeah, and his brother was just like, and he was like, but he was like trying to tell me, well, if you do this and do that, you could be, and I was just like, you can say that. I don't want to be friends with that person, never. Like, that's fine, I care about you and your mom. I actually miss your mom more than I miss him. But yeah, I was like, I don't want to be friends with him at all. I'm good. I'm just checking up on you, your mom, see how the family's going. The end. I'm good with that. So, let's see how much time I've sat here talking about the spiritual ego. But I feel good because I feel like I talked about the spiritual ego. So now we can get into the video games. So people who are watching me, I'm going to do a Last of Us Adult Swim, and that's going to be the stream that I'm going to play video games. It is late. I do apologize. I tried. I had to cook Kiki food because she needs to eat. I had to go buy these headsets, and I woke up late, and then I had the Vikings game, and then I was playing some Ghost of Tsushima. Hit it on Twitch if you want to see it, because I love that game so much. But thank you for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. Don't forget my website, www.jamonmiller.com. And if you guys want to keep partying with me and you guys want to keep the stream going, we'll hit the next video. Thank you for watching. Spiritual Ego. Finished. It had to do with Dante as an example of the cult leader, false prophet mentality. But there's more to talk about the spiritual ego, but I think that this brought all of this together. And especially it's relevant to the game we're playing, because this is definitely awfully hell-like or Revelations-like or definitely biblical spiritual stuff going on here, even with the bad guys. And we'll explore that more. But yeah, an hour and 6 minutes, we're good. Check out my next video. It'll just be Adult Swim, The Last of Us. Check it out.